Carlos Amezcua.
And I'm Christine Devine. Right now, take a look here. Breaking news. Sky Fox over a pursuit. The driver reportedly involved in a murder or robbery. That chase starting at Sunset in Rosemont about an hour ago. He's now traveling east on Beverly Boulevard, now in the Westlake district. He's gone from Echo Park back to Westlake and back again. He could have gotten on the freeways, Carlos, the 110, the 101, but he is staying right now on those surface streets. And look the way he's driving.
Officers are very concerned about this one. He is a murder suspect. This car was stolen in North Hollywood area, and the man may be carrying a pistol or an AK-47. There's a big difference between those two guns, but we've seen him talking on the phone. He's driving slowly and quickly, sometimes erratically. He has almost hit people. He has hit one vehicle, and now he continues there on Beverly heading eastbound.
Jeff Schwadock is up in Sky Fox. Jeff, tell us about your specific location and what you've been looking at.
Okay, well, he is approaching at this point South Alvarado. He just made a turn on South Alvarado. I believe this is still considered the Westlake area. And yes, indeed, he did damage that car, the front fender, as you can see. He did hit somebody earlier in this pursuit, which has been going on since 6 p.m. this evening. And it has been confirmed that he is carrying a weapon, and this individual is a single white male that was involved in a murder. Now, the car has been reportedly stolen, and it has come back registered to an individual in North Hollywood, and that is the information on the car that I have.
And Jeff, you've been following this for a bit. Now, it's been going on for over an hour. Like I said, he could have gotten on freeways. He has not. I believe he was on for a hot minute, but he's been on these surface streets for the bulk of this pursuit. Talk about how he's been driving. It's been very dangerous at some points.
Yeah, he's been driving around in circles in this area near Westlake, going up to the eastern edge of Hollywood, Sunset Boulevard, Vermont, and basically he's been going around in circles. Not excessive speed, mind you, but he has been going into other lanes, into oncoming traffic. As you can see, he's stopping at this intersection, so at least this individual is being careful, but it is a dangerous situation for Rampart Division LAPD, as they know that this person is armed and was involved, in fact, in a homicide.
All right, so a lot of people have been watching this and know that this thing is going on. You can hear the helicopters overhead. You hear the police sirens of this guy being chased around. It's been a while since we've seen one of these, but it has all the hallmarks of a gang initiation thing, where a gang member will steal a car, and then we hear that there's a connection to this armed robbery, and that he may have been involved in that murder in the valley. But this has all the hallmarks of going in circles in a neighborhood that you know, showing off to your friends that have been on the sidewalk, and he's waved to some people. Some people actually have been taunting him, and then he just goes in circles, goes round and round and round until the police decide to do something. And tactically, this is a pretty difficult situation for the officers, because they have to consider the fact that he may be armed, he may be dangerous, and he may have been involved in a murder. Three things that in their minds as they follow this guy around in circles.
Absolutely. Whenever there's a pursuit, police consider the suspect dangerous, but when you have information that there is a weapon on board, weapon in the car, it certainly changes the mindset of the officers and how close they can get to this vehicle. We talk about ways to stop a pursuit. Right now, they're following this vehicle. Jeff, do we know anything about the stolen car, perhaps the amount of gas in the car, what kind of car it is?
Well, I did hear earlier via the scanner that there was, the owner of the car reported that was a full tank in the car. Now, this person has been driving around for over an hour, and we don't know how long he was driving the car after he stole it. So, but the owner of the car that was reported the stolen vehicle said there was a full tank of gas in it.
Well, he apparently, from what I understand, the car was stolen early this morning at some point, and so he's been driving it all day. But he could have a long way to go, since it doesn't look like he's trying to flee or try to get away from these officers. He's just driving in circles and taunting them. And he is indeed a murder suspect, according to all the reports we have, and including the report of him having a weapon, an AK-47 or something like that.
All right, Kevin, Jeff, as you're monitoring police traffic and police information, are you getting any kind of insight as their strategy on this, or how they plan to deal with this guy?
He may not be able to hear us at this point. Lost communication.
I'm sorry, Carlos, I was listening to the scanner and finding out where they were.
Okay. Where are they, Jeff?
Right now, they're southbound Alvarado. This is still in the Westlake area.
Yeah, he's already been on Alvarado a couple of times.
He's probably doing about 25, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, this is a slow-speed chase. He's got a damaged front end of the car, but it seems to be running just fine. You see all the people in the corner there looking, and he's just out for a joyride with police following him.
Well, you get that when you have these pursuits where they keep going in the same neighborhood, circling back and forth from Westlake to Echo Park. It's very easy for people to monitor this on their TVs and go out on their street corner and see who it is, and maybe they know the guy. We've also talked about in the past, Carlos, where suspects sometimes will stay in a familiar neighborhood, so when the pursuit does end, they're kind of in familiar territory, home territory, even sometimes going right up to their own driveway as they bring it to an end.
Well, as we've seen in the past, and just recently the other night, or last night, the suspect got away. We've seen a lot of that happening where they run in the neighborhood and they just don't get caught. But in this case, we still have a little bit of daylight left, so if this comes to an end in daylight, they have a good chance of getting the suspect at the end of this pursuit. It will end. Where it will end and how it will end, we don't know. The weapon is really the wild card here, and he's not attempting to get on any freeway. It doesn't look like he's trying to get away from this area. He's turned right, he's turned left, but he's pretty much been circling the entire Westlake area.
Jeff Schwadock in Sky Fox. Jeff, is he staying now in the Westlake area, kind of circling more in a tighter circle?
Well, he's still heading south on Alvarado Boulevard, and as we go by some clouds, there's some atmosphere in this area, so we'll try to stay with us. But he's still heading southbound on Alvarado right now, and most likely he'll make a turn onto a side street and come back around this area one more time.
Yeah, he's managed to avoid a lot of the heavy traffic. Right now during rush hour, there doesn't seem to be a lot of traffic on Alvarado. But if he was to hit the freeways, he knows he's not going to go very far because of the way freeway traffic is at this hour. So he's just going in circles on Alvarado and on Beverly and Vermont. And so this has been kind of the pattern all night long. And he's been using gas stations to cut across corners and avoid getting captured by police. But he is being very careful as he enters these intersections. He hasn't really been buzzing through them.
It scares me though when you see him on the wrong side of the street. But you're right though, Carlos, these roads have been fairly open. I'm almost surprised to see them so wide open at this hour. I mean, 7 o'clock is a little bit past rush hour, but still, you would think that there might be some more traffic there at this hour, but like you said, fairly wide open, which makes it easier for police to do this pursuit and a little bit less dangerous, but still, that's an area where there are often a lot of pedestrians on the streets.
We've just gotten word that police do know who the suspect is, that the suspect's brother, the alleged suspect's brother, was involved in an officer-involved shooting with officers from the Rampart District. So they are familiar with this man, they're familiar with his brother, they're familiar with the situation, and this man is not leaving this general vicinity right now. He's just going in circles, and perhaps this may be a one-man protest about the death of his brother.
All right, move up, please.
Yeah, clarifying on that, again, this is the Rampart District LAPD following this suspect, a white male in this car. They think that he might be carrying a handgun or some kind of weapon in the car. And as Carlos just said, his brother was killed by Rampart officers. Not quite sure when that happens. If we get that information, we'll bring it to you. But again, this is also reported a stolen car, so I'm not quite sure how that plays into all this.
Well, we saw him earlier on a cell phone, and he may have been talking to officers. If they knew who he was, they may have contacted his family, and then, you know how they usually do is they'll have somebody in the family contact him, and then they'll hand the phone to the police officers to communicate with him and try to get him to stop and to surrender, to give up peacefully before something happens. That may have been happening a few moments ago when we saw the close-up of him inside his car driving with one hand and having a cell phone up to his ear. But he doesn't seem to be, at this point, he's been going for an hour and 10 minutes. He doesn't seem to be too interested in giving up as he goes past the convention center there.
Carlos, this new information really puts a whole different perspective on this pursuit. Again, the information from LAPD is that the suspect's brother killed by officers, and it changes the mindset of this driver. You know, we've had situations where you talked about possible gang initiation or a stolen car or under the influence, but you wonder now about the mindset of this driver and what he's thinking, and officers following him have to keep that into account.
You see, he just went behind Staples Center there, going up Figueroa, and you just wonder what he's thinking. Is he going to go back around and head back to the Silver Lake area? Where's he going to go? He just popped through right there at the intersection.
I would think that given this scenario where his brother was killed by police, makes this an especially dangerous situation for police should the suspect stop, knowing that they're saying he has a weapon in the car.
Well, officers are pursuing him at a safe distance. It doesn't seem like they're right on top of him. So they're not, at this point, it seems to me they're not anticipating doing any kind of a pit maneuver. They're just going to wait this guy out and see how long he decides to drive. He's not going to run out of gas, it seems to us, because they said the tank was full of gas. He's not going to run out of gas anytime soon, so he'll be able to drive around the city streets here without too much trouble. And at that rate of speed, he could do this all night, and the police would just follow him.
Well, people often will ask us, why don't police just put this to an end? You know, pedestrians are at risk, other motorists. But if you keep in mind here, they say that this guy has a gun in the car, so you don't want to get too close to him as an officer. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way. And they have to take this into account when this car does come to a stop.
You see there, our helicopter's having a tough time zeroing in on exactly where he is because of the tall buildings downtown. And he will, if he does, he'll pop out right in between here in the buildings. But
and noting that he has moved into the downtown area. Again, he was more in the Westlake District, the Echo Park area, and now moving into the busy part of downtown. Again, freeways nearby, the 101, the 110. He has not gotten on the freeway, but this is kind of a change in location for him now.
He's
More in
gone
the
over the
heart of
bridge there.
downtown.
Okay, so just to explain how this all works with the helicopters, you have police helicopters at the main level. They're the ones that are pursuing. They're the official pursuing authority, and so they get the airspace that is closest to the pursuit. And all the rest of the helicopters that are following this, and since we're the only newscast on at 7 o'clock in the evening right now in LA, it would be us and maybe another couple of other TV stations that aren't on the air live. We are watching this live. They stagger the elevation of the helicopters so that they're flying at a safe distance from each other. But it makes it very tricky to fly around downtown and be able to get the shots that we need to show you the pursuit. Now, he may have stopped the car. It's tough to tell. The police officer cars didn't pass this little open section that we see here of the street, and he hasn't shot out from any place here, so we're all right. Apparently we do not see any activity from our vantage point, but we hear that shots have been fired and that the suspect has been hit by the shots that were fired. Not sure if the officers fired first or if the suspect turned in and fired, but there you see the officers with their cars doors open, and the suspect has been shot. You see him there lying on the street.
Carlos,
And
it looks like there may have been some kind of accident or something in that you see a second car there. Perhaps something like that happened and the suspect got out and tried to run. But as we pull out a little bit to give this a little bit of distance on this shot, you can see there is a man down there on the ground, and word from LAPD is that the suspect has been shot.
Well, you're right. There may have been a collision. The collision may have precipitated the suspect to run. And if he did anything at all, and he made any kind of a gesture towards the police officers with a weapon or a cell phone or anything like that, they're going to consider that a threat and fire on him. And it looks like they did fire on him. As you see the tactical team now move in, and they'll make sure that no one else is in that suspect vehicle. They'll make sure that the person in the other vehicle that was apparently hit is safe and needs any medical attention. They'll get right to it and see the paramedics now running to the vehicle that was hit to see if everyone there is okay or what's going on. But clearly the suspect is on the ground. He is not moving. They are not rushing to his aid to see if he is alive or dead. And we will keep this at a tasteful distance because obviously we don't want to zoom in into a situation like this and see anything.
Add one more thing before we toss it to a break. Keep in mind the man they were following right here, his brother had been killed by police. So the mindset of this guy leading police on this more than an hour-long pursuit, we don't know where he was at with this. We don't know how all this went down. But again, the suspect has been shot by police and he was said to have a weapon in the car. So what happened there before this came to an end, we'll find out.
And if he was distraught about his brother being killed by police, he may have decided that was the way he was going to go out too, and they call that suicide by cop. We don't know all those details at this point as you see the clouds moving in. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back and see if we can follow up and find out a little bit more for you as we continue here on Fox News at 7 o'clock. We'll be right back.